What's going on, everyone? It's your man Stack 908, aka the Dig Dug himself. And ladies and gents, boys and girls, Dugs and Diggers, Monster Hunters and Monster Honeys, we are playing some Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate today, and we are attempting to not kill. This is a capture quest. We're going to capture the Shogun Ceanataur. For the most part, this will be your first venture into Shogun Ceanataur. After you complete this quest, you can turn over and actually fight him proper in a different location. But regardless, here we go. So the one thing you should really note about Shogun is that he is very reminiscent of his cousin Daimyo Hermitaur. They share like a lot of characteristics. I mean, I can literally sit here and give you a list about it, and I probably will, because that's the whole point of this video, to tell you what it is, what it ain't. But first, let's talk about what I'm wearing. Right now I'm wearing just the Paladin Lance. It's a Iron Path Lance all the way from the top to bottom, and the Narahala armor that we made from the last video, of course. It gives me earplugs and Capture Expert. I decided to actually wear this bit because I knew that we were going to have to actually capture my man. So I figured, well, let me get a few more parts, you know, because Capture Expert actually increases the number of parts you get when you complete a quest via capture. So I knew it was going to help out in that regard. So we're going to talk about what necessarily makes him and Daimyo very similar, because it's a lot of things. Usually when there's monsters who are kind of in this kind of vein where it's they are basically the same thing but like slightly different. A good example is Rathian and Rathalos. The honest difference between Rathian and Rathalos will be, I'll talk about him really soon, but Rathalos doesn't really have a tail flip, and Rathalos hangs in the sky a bit more. That's the general big difference, honestly. They both shoot fireballs, they both charge you down with their runs, they both have wind pressure from their wings, they both attack from the sky. I mean, at the end of the day, there's really like only slight things that make them different. But Shogun Ceanataur, his thing is he doesn't hide behind his hands. He uses his hands more than what Daimyo Hermitaur would do, because he uses his hands more akin to that of like swords. That's why when he actually attacks you, it looks like these little slash marks when he hits you with his claws, because he is actually your first venture into what's known as bleeding. Now, bleeding is that's not like a blight, it's like an ailment. If you are afflicted with bleeding, your health bar will change to from green to, like, I believe like a pink color or like a really light red, and every time you move, you'll get these scratches on your body, and that actually takes your health away. So in order to actually alleviate yourself from this, you must do one of a couple of things. You can A, or you can crouch. If you crouch, you'll have this glow about you, and once the glow is dissipated, your health and everything returns to normal. I guess it's akin to taking a rest, you know what I mean? 2, you can actually eat some meat. If you eat meat, it'll actually cure it altogether. Or 3, well, it's still akin to eating meat, but if you eat, I believe it's sushi fish. If you cook sushi fish and then eat it, it'll heal you of that. On top of it healing you of the bleeding affliction, that's what I'm gonna call it, an affliction, it will actually increase the speed in which you regain your lost red health, and it'll actually, I believe, replenish your lost red health that you had, because what the bleeding does is it doesn't actually hurt you per se. I mean, it does, but it doesn't like kill you. All the health that it takes away from you, so to speak, you can actually get back, because it's just red health. You lose regular health to get your red health left behind, and if you can regain your red health, you know, you're good to go. So that's his big gimmick, so to speak. So other than that, for the most part, he has a lot of attacks. I mean, a lot of attacks. Basically, all of his attacks are very reminiscent of Daimyo Hermitaur. So if you remember fighting Daimyo Hermitaur, you should be in relatively good hands. The one thing you should watch out for, like I said, is the bleeding by his clawing attacks. So let's talk about another small difference between him and Daimyo Hermitaur. He has a dig attack very akin to that of Daimyo Hermitaur, but his dig attack is actually very interesting. It's very easy once you actually get it down, because he will dig under the ground and come up 3 times. Where he comes up on that 3rd time, though, where he comes up the 3rd time, he will come up again, and then that's where he's at. So essentially, I already did it in the video here. You see me do it again right now. He will dig, he'll come up, and then he'll dig again, he'll come up, he'll dig, and he'll come up, and then after that last one, he'll go back down, but he's gonna come right back up in the same exact spot, okay? He's gonna come up in the same exact spot. So when he comes up for the 3rd time, reposition yourself to actually get into a more advantageous position as opposed to continue running. So just count the times he digs, and you should be in relatively good hands. Dead serious. I'm not even gonna pretend to lie to you guys, but that's pretty much all there really is to know about himself when it comes to fighting. So for the most part, let's talk about everything else you really needs to know when it comes to fighting, like, you know, the armors and et cetera, of course, you know, just like old times. And just like old times, you actually want to do the most damage when you come to fight my man's right here. You have to hit him in the head. Now, there's one real interesting thing about him in his hit zones. His hit zones are very interesting, okay, because his head is his main weakness, of course, but his torso, his feet, and if you break the shell on his back, that has a little bit of exposed flesh. If you break that, you break the shell, you see some little exposed flesh. All that has the same exact hit zone, or hit damage, so to speak. The hit zone's damage is the exact same. Now, the head is still the most, but the torso, the feet, and the flesh, they all have the same after that, and they all are like number 2. So if you decide to actually, you know, utilize pretty much beating him to like the bits, go for the shell, break the shell, so you have another whole zone to actually hit to do good damage on. His hands, the main ones he uses to actually attack, though, they're very armored, so you're gonna need to get those broken to get his claws, so that way you can make weapons and gear and whatnot. But you have to like deal with the fact that they're armored. You might bounce quite a few times. But speaking of bouncing and everything, oh wait, back it up. Thunder and ice. Bring thunder, you're in good hands. If you don't have thunder, bring ice, and you're good to go. Moving over. Now his armor. His armor is impeccable. It's good stuff. It is very, very, very good stuff. It's incredible how good this armor is low rank. But his armor gives you razor sharp and critical eye 1, but it's 13 points. Because the armor has a couple of slots, you can actually gem in critical eye 2. Heck, if you have a really nice talisman, you can get critical eye 3. You know what I mean? So you have a huge amount of crit for you, and razor sharp, so that way your weapons lose sharpness at half the speed, which is really, really dope. Speaking of weapons, his weapons are actually very, very, very good for this time around. The damage on them off the cuff is about 110, which is very good because most weapons around this exact time are roughly like 100 or so. So it's really good to have that. Also, they actually have 2 slots. They have 2 slots in the weapon, and they have an insane amount of green sharpness. Now, they don't have any affinity, they don't have any element or anything like that, but for a good while, it's actually a very decent weapon to have. The green is very large, and once it actually gets to blue, which is down line like high rank or whatever, it gets a huge chunk of blue. Then once G rank comes around, it gets a huge chunk of white. So it's a huge chunk of white, a huge chunk of blue, and a huge chunk of green. He's just huge chunky. You know what I mean? So that's that. But that's his gear. His gear is fairly decent. I would recommend, you know, if you're about that life, if you're gonna fight him a couple of times, maybe if you're gonna make the armor, you owe it to yourself to actually fight him like maybe 2-3 more times to get at least one of his weapons, because they're gonna do you really good for a while. But remember, guys, this is a capture quest. The first time you have to fight him, it is a capture quest, so you have to really pay attention to his movements and everything. Take note to usually like how long it takes for you to defeat monsters up until then, or up until now. Like for me, I've been able to defeat monsters in about 6 minutes, roughly 6 minutes or so. Excuse me, 7 minutes. About 7 to 9 minutes are my fights. So roughly around 7 to 8 minutes, I started thinking to myself, okay, he should be relatively weak enough to actually be captured. So what you want to actually look for is, if you think you've been beating him up like very, very, very well, lay off on him a little bit and see if he'll leave the area. If he leaves the area, take note to actually how he leaves the area. Now, one thing I will say is I'm actually very familiar with this particular quest. I know I can either capture him in this area, or if I do really good. Like the first time I fought him, not the first time, but usually when I fight him, I can capture him in this area. But I wasn't doing too hot this time around, so I wasn't actually able to capture him in this particular area. I actually waited till he went to sleep. But I know that I can actually beat him up in this first area, beat him really good in the second area, and then the third area he goes to is usually when he's ready to be captured. Like I said, take note of all the fights that you actually had before this. Like again, if you've been able to fight and kill most monsters in 7 minutes, roughly around the 5 or 6 minute mark, slow up a little bit and see if he's actually ready to leave the area in like a very, very tired state. For him, his shell will be on the ground. He'll literally drag himself to the next area. That's the dead giveaway to figure out if he's ready to go or not. But that's pretty much all I can really say about my man Shogun Ceanataur right there. Remember, his armor is very, very nice. Very nice. You must hit him in the head or basically anywhere else on his body to deal adequate damage. His weapons are fairly decent, like pretty good. The attack on him is very nice. The one thing I will say though is, like, because his attack is actually 110 off the cuff, to upgrade it again you have to wait a little bit longer. Well, not too long, but like a little bit longer than like most, because roughly around the time we were actually able to upgrade his weapon again, most other weapons that are similar to his weapon or weapons that you've been using around his weapon will probably outclass it. But however, once you can upgrade it, it'll sit pretty with the rest of them again. It's a weird kind of thing. It's one of those things where it's like you make it because it does more for now, and then it'll probably do more for you later, that kind of deal. But that's everything for me, everyone. Thanks so much for watching this video. I will talk to you all on the next one. I actually lost where he was going because I didn't paintball him, and I lost sight of him for like 7 minutes, so I'm just gonna go ahead and skip to when I actually capture him. No big deal, you kind of get the gist. You throw the trap down, he walks over, hit him twice with the trank bomb. Thing is, he was gone for so long that when I actually hit him with the trap and the trank bomb, he recovers some of his health, because when they go to sleep, they can actually recover some of their health. They're not gonna like be fully healed. But I had to trap him, use all 3 trank bombs, and beat him up a little bit before he was actually captured. Usually, trap 2 tranks, and you're done. 3 in a pinch. But I had to, hit him with the juice afterwards. Yo, check it out. I was like, yo, son, you better get caught, homie. And then he got caught. But yo, that's everything that I gotta really say to you all. It's been your boy. Thanks so much for watching. I'm gonna talk to you on the next one. Peace.